realized I was created to worship him. And he sets the rules, he makes the invitation, he prepares the place so that we can worship him with our lives as living sacrifices. And I realized the way we would be able to accomplish that would not be by trying to actualize our plans, but by surrender, by giving in, by being able to say, it will no longer be me who lives, but Christ will live in me. And I remember letting go of my will, letting go of my ambitions, and telling God, from this day, you own me. I give myself totally to you, wherever, however, that you may be glorified in my life. And I remember telling him, I know I am a strong-willed girl, and I'm going to go my way. I'm going to insist on my own rights. And I told him, you know, when you see me doing that, do not allow me to get lost in this world. Do not allow me to live my life. And if you stop me and I insist, then I would rather be with you in glory than to live in this life to serve me or to serve another. And I sort of put that in a covenant, and I signed it, and I usually refer to it, that I will live in covenant, that it's no longer I who lives, but Christ who lives in me. I wish it would be done once, and then it's over, and we move on. But the me in me continues to resurrect all the time and begin to want to actualize itself again. So it's a lifestyle of continued surrender. And you go to a new level and you realize it's time to surrender again. It's time to give this position that I have been brought to back to him, that he may use it for his glory. It's been 33 years since I made that covenant, and I'm so glad that I walk in covenant. We have been crucified with Christ and have identified our competencies, and as we surrender, we begin to walk in obedience. Obedience becomes our lifestyle. It's yes, Lord. It's yes, Lord. That is the rule of the race that is set before us. That is the rule. If you keep, you will not be disqualified from the race. It actually calls us to run this race on our knees, because it's seeking him so that we can obey him. There's no other way other than making prayer your primary occupation as you walk with the Father. It's not making our plans and inviting him to bless them, but rather it's his plan becoming our plan. And we seek it in prayer. It becomes a pursuit of his calling, following in that purpose. It's daily. It's always. It's till death. You know, soon after my surrender and that time of the covenant, the Lord began to reveal in me the plan that he had for me. And it was step by step. It was almost like if he reveals this plan and I take it, then the next step will be revealed. But not obeying the plan that's revealed just keeps us there. We stay in the parking lot. It's the ship in the harbor, and it's just there. And as we take what he has revealed, then he opens the next one. He made a way for me to join medical school, and this was to gain a tool that he would use for his service, not so much for self-esteem or even for self-gain, but that I can totally just give it back, that he will use it his way for his glory. It soon also became obvious for me, with the desire to do pediatrics, that was not in line with the purpose of God for me. He guided me on to pursue public health, then on to disaster management. I was in I was pursuing that in Switzerland and in Belgium. Then I went on to Pakistan to pursue civil defense without knowing why was I doing civil defense. You know, why was God leading me to do that? And it wasn't until I found myself serving in some war-torn countries like Somalia, like some parts of Ethiopia, like the part that I just described in Sudan, that I realized this is why God so carefully equipped me for the plans that he had for me. When the right time came after the equipping, a door was opened for my husband, Festus, and I, and our 2 children, babies that time, to go as missionaries and serve among the Maasai tribe in Kenya. And we stayed with them for 2 years. And at the end of the 2 years, it became very clear that the Lord was moving us forward. Ethiopia had always been the country that I was broken for. And the door opened for us to go into Ethiopia. We ended up living there for 7 years. You know, when we seek God with a clear intent to know and to obey, he speaks. He speaks almost as clearly as I am speaking to you this morning. You will get to know how he speaks to you as you seek to walk with him in obedience. During our language learning in Ethiopia, we connected with the people there. We actually connected with a people group that was affected by leprosy. And they were living in a colony there, one of the darkest places that I have ever seen, almost palpable darkness. People bound, people so hopeless, completely dependent on begging as their only source of income, rejected, and just left without hope or without any attention from both the government, the society, or their families. You know, as we began to do medical work with them, just initially outreaches, nursing them at best, encouraging them, we just realized there was more that God was calling us to do with this community. And although I had thought I would be working in a remote area in Ethiopia, I thought I was called to the rural poor to serve there. That became our mission ground for the initial time, and we knew we had arrived for the season. So we began to see them, and within a short time we realized, no, clinical medicine will not even solve their problem in any way. We saw children of the lepers, and they were about the same age as our children, 3 to 6 years, with several active disease processes happening at the same time. Like a child would have worms, palpable worms, skin disease, ear infection, pneumonia, and typhoid, all in the same person. And we would give out a prescription, and within a short time, the same child would be brought to us to see with the same infections again. And we realized, no, it wasn't going to work with just us giving prescriptions. Something different needs to be done. And for change to come, we stepped back, we did a community diagnosis, we identified what are the key things that are the root causes of the disease, and we realized interventions needed to be implemented to prevent them from becoming sick. And it was simple interventions like hygiene, like nutrition, like water, and other basic needs. It was empowering and instilling hope for a better tomorrow that made such a huge difference. But I realized quickly that this was not going to be dependent on us. It was going and is done in such a way that the local church is involved and elevated, that they are trained to lead and own the activities that happen in these communities where God has called us, that the poor will become participants of their own development other than doing things for them or to them, creating dependency, that the impact has to be God glorifying, not raising us to look like heroes who have come to rescue them. It was to meet the temporal needs, but also more importantly, the spiritual needs. It was holistic, integrated ministry that he had invited us to. It was a strategy that would have us involved in transformational development that empowers the church to serve the urban and rural poor in a way that is sustainable and in a way that lifts their dignity. So we serve alongside the local church to empower them to become the agents of change and graduate that process within 3 years in each and every community that the Lord leads us. We partner with the community and with the church and transfer the skills so that what we are doing, they will be able to do the same things within 3 years. Our impact is transforming communities with the local church being salt and light. We started as a family of 4 in 1994, but the work is now owned and governed by an international board, and we have national boards in every country where we serve. And after a time of piloting the work, amazing favor just began to pour. And it began to develop in other communities. We began to be invited by different churches to say, come and equip us so that we can do the same work the other church is doing to reach out to our poor. And that's how Life in Abundance International was born as a ministry in Ethiopia. Initially, as we served in that, we just began to see God calling us to other paths. And we found ourselves in the war-torn Sudan at that time, using the disaster management to teach the church how to survive in disaster situations. We found ourselves in Somalia. We found ourselves in different slums in Kenya. In each community, it's meeting felt priority needs with sustainable and locally appropriate interventions in a designed program so that transformation can come. The kind of transformation that affects both the spiritual and the physical. Literally, it's implementing Isaiah 61. It includes medical camps. It includes short-term mission trips, clinics in these communities, health education, poverty alleviation strategies, and the church doing the home visits, sharing the gospel, doing the follow-up, and establishing his righteousness in these communities. So our model really is we go into the community, we do prayer walks initially like we did in that dark leprosy colony, and we speak to the strongholds. We release the captives, we break the chains of injustice. And after a time of prayer walking and identifying the people of peace and the churches that are locally based there, we invite them to a time of vision sharing. We share the vision with the church about, it's Isaiah 61, it's Isaiah 58. How can you practice true fasting in this community? How can the church be elevated? What's the Great Commission? What's the commandment that you love your neighbor as yourself? And what are you doing as a church? Would it be possible for you to be salt and light in this community? And usually it's we are overwhelmed. We are part of the poor community. How can we do it? And that's where Life in Abundance as a ministry now comes in and partners with them to say, we will teach you the skills. We will design the program together. They choose teams from the churches and we take them through a training of 10 days. And then we begin to implement the interventions based on a baseline survey that identifies and prioritizes the needs that they can begin to address. You know, all these interventions just end up in these 4 categories. The first one is health, and in there we implement the primary healthcare initiatives and all the elements of primary healthcare, including water and sanitation. We work with people affected by HIV. We do health education. We work in church-based clinics in these communities. And then the economic empowerment, because